Hi, everybody who's hopping in right now. This is so weird. I cannot hear or see anybody, but I know you're there. It's saying that there's like 200 of you here. So keep on coming in. Hi, everyone. Cindy, nice to see you here. Nicole, hi. Don, hello. I'm guessing it's the Don that I know. So Don, welcome. Billy, hi. Good to see you, or see your words that you wrote here at least. Oh, there's so many people from all over. It's just going nuts already. Sherry Steelman is on here. Oh, Sherry, I hope you can contribute in a little bit. Sherry, anything I say tonight basically came from Sherry Steelman. So, Sherry, why don't you just take over? No? Hi, Hillary from British Columbia. I was going to ask everybody where they're from. That was going to be one of the first things I do. But everybody's just jumping right to it. Casey, hi, from Portland, Oregon. Kara from Michigan. It's a great state to live in starting now. Today was a nice like 65-degree day, but it's not usually that warm. Jackie, welcome from Wisconsin. Emma from Maryland. I saw a Bogota, Colombia on here. Elena, have we met? I was just in Bogota in November, and it's one of the most beautiful, incredible places I've ever been. So Elena, did we meet there, or are you just randomly from the same city that I got to go to? Dave, welcome from Randolph. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Illinois, South Carolina. Hi, Tanya from South Carolina. Lori from Winnipeg. Hi, everybody. This is so fun. It's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to get going because I don't want to waste anybody's time tonight, and I want to get through as much stuff as we can get through and make it productive and have a really good conversation together. So I just want to start off by thanking you for being here tonight. This is such a joy that I get to connect with so many people from all over the world. It's just a crazy thing. You know, I'm kind of a traditionalist in a lot of ways. We're going to be talking about technology in a little bit, but I got my first smartphone only 4 years ago. Until then, it was all flip phones for me. And so I'm not one to like dive into new technology, embrace it like a lot of people. And I'm also someone that kind of like bemoans technology sometimes, like, you kids, get off your phones. And yet, what a gift technology is for us right now, that we get to connect with each other, that we can build community tonight, that we can share ideas and conversation and discussion together. And we're all just sitting behind computer screens all over the world. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I'm excited to connect with you. My name is Trevor, if we haven't met before. I run the Epic Classroom Facebook page, where a lot of you probably met me, but I also make a lot of videos on YouTube and all over social media. But then I also get to teach, and I've been a high school teacher. I've worked with middle school students, worked with college students. And this whole thing has been a disruption. Are you with me? This has been a really tough time to be an educator. It's been a tough time to be anyone. So I don't want to like gloss over the experience of a lot of people. But I can tell you from all of my teacher friends and as an educator myself, this has been a very difficult experience. It's been disruptive, having to move a profession that is so fundamentally built on relationships and connection and even proximity, to put everybody behind computers and expect the same type of learning and engagement and growth to still happen is a really tall task. And you know, here, let me just preface this, our little webinar together tonight. I love to just go where things are going. And yet I have this big, long slideshow that I told myself I am going to guide this conversation with that. But then you start feeling the inspiration. You just want to go with it. And I just want to be like, oh, we'll skip that slide. So I'm going to do my very best to stay with what I have planned. But I really want this to be a flowing conversation. We have this little chat bar over here. So please feel free to contribute. Obviously, we don't have time within this hour to get through everything, but feel free to chime in. We're definitely what I want to do tonight is bring up some big topics about some big things that we should be thinking about as we try to thrive as educators during this time. And then at the end of each one of those topics, I just kind of want to open it up to ideas, like, what are you doing to fill this void or do whatever it is that we've been talking about. So that's what it's going to look like. Before we get rocking and rolling, you can connect with me all over the place. You can go to my website, trevormuir.com, where I blog and I put a lot of my articles and my videos and resources, and you can find out where I am. Maybe we can meet up at some of the places I get to travel. Not anytime soon, by the way. Not doing any speaking in front of large groups for a bit here. But when that does happen, you can find that on my website. You can also connect with me on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. I'm in all those places. I'm also on YouTube. Kind of what inspired my idea, like I should do a webinar. Like we should have a conversation about how do you not just survive during this time, but how do you actually thrive in it, is I released this video a couple weeks ago about school not being canceled. I don't know if you've seen all the headlines, but there are a lot of dramatic headlines saying that school is canceled all over America. School is canceled. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. Cancel means it's not happening. I'm talking to way too many teachers who are still putting all of their heart and soul and sweat, blood, and tears into teaching. School's not canceled for them. And I have driven by the middle school in our town where the principal and the teachers of that school hand out food to students twice a week to make sure that everybody gets fed in our district. School's not canceled for them either, right? Like school is absolutely about relationships and connection and growth. And I'm hearing story after story, and I'm getting to have these experiences with my own students at the university about connection and growth and relationships. And so school isn't canceled. And so I've been kind of just resonating on that and thinking about it. And I put out this YouTube video and it just went like wildfire. People are sharing it all over the place because obviously something resonates about that idea that school is not canceled. School is more than a location and being in a building. Are you with me? And so if school isn't canceled, if we are still doing this work, it looks different. It's in a different place, but we're still doing it. How do we just not do it okay? How do we not just survive this time? Because let me just reassure you real quick. This is temporary. Okay, we are not going to be in this forever. It is a temporary experience. This is a moment at some point, and I don't know when it is. I'm hoping it's pretty soon. We are going to be back in our classrooms or in our schools and our hallways back with our students, and it's going to get back to some sense of normalcy, I promise. But until then, we have the option of either calling it quits, which I doubt any teacher I know of I've ever met is just going to call it quits in this time. So we can either call it quits, though. You can either just survive it and bear down and, just make it, or you can figure out ways to thrive in it. How do we actually finish the school day feeling I still love my job? I still feel like I'm teaching my students how to write well. I still feel like I'm teaching my students how to solve complex problems. I still feel like that I'm helping them become better collaborators and critical thinkers, and they're still becoming adaptable, and they still have a connection and a relationship with me. I'm still giving them opportunities, even though they're socially distant from each other, to still connect with their classmates and their peers. I'm still giving school. I'm still thriving at my job. And so I am not going to profess to be an expert at this, at thriving all the time in crisis. I'm not. And that's because I don't think anybody is. I don't think anyone, I'll see, I'm already jumping ahead. We'll get back to that slide. I don't think anyone has got this all figured out. And I think we should start this conversation by saying that loud and clear. I don't think anyone knows exactly how to engage every one of their students, knows how to record and document better than anybody else, knows how to schedule their time perfectly, knows how to connect with every one of their students' parents and bring them peace in this time and consolation and make sure that all of their students are getting everything they need. I don't think that person exists, myself included. But I do think there's things that we can do to make this a time where we can thrive. And I think that starts by having conversations like this, where I just want to share some big ideas and then kind of open up and people can kind of just get going on sharing what they have. And it can just get us thinking, because that's what we really need to make sure we're doing right now, that we're not getting stagnant, that we're not getting lost in despair, even though there's plenty of reason to at times, that we're not getting stuck, but instead we're continuing to think and innovate and using that creativity that teachers innately have. We are already creative people. If you are a teacher, you are creative at your core. You've used creativity throughout your entire career. It takes creativity to design lessons that teach complex information and make it simple enough for our students. That takes creativity. It takes creativity to navigate your way through all of the state and national content standards and make sense of it, and then make sense of it for your students. It takes creativity to make a parent understand why you made the decision that you made. It takes creativity to live on a teacher's salary. Are you feeling me, right? It takes creativity to do the work that you're doing. And so what we need to do now is take that creativity that we already have, and we need to use it to figure out, how do we find success in this work? And how do we do it in a way that when we get done at 3 or 4 o'clock every afternoon, that you can go and feel accomplished, that you can feel a sense of success. So we're going to talk about that. But I am curious, before we dive right into it, I know a lot of people have already done it. Where is everybody from? Where are we all at? I know, okay, so I'm seeing Carmen is from Italy. Abby's from Wisconsin, just right on the other side of the lake. Leah from Greenville, South Carolina, which, by the way, Leah, was one of my favorite stops all summer last year. I got to go to over 30 places, and absolutely one of my favorites was Greenville. And she said she brought me, I lost it. Where was it? A buttered chicken biscuit. And let me just tell you, I remember it, Leah, and it was delicious. Carol's from South Carolina, love it. I see Kansas on here. Iowa, Texas, Washington State. Yeah, we could go all day long. So just welcome, everybody. Thanks for being a part of this conversation. I do want to commit to being done by 8 o'clock, just to respect everyone's time. So if I get on a roll, maybe we'll just have to schedule another one of these soon and pick up where we left off. But I just really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart that you are not just satisfied with the status quo, that you are committed to just continuing to learn new things and get better at your craft. And that's what we're going to try to do tonight together. So, people are already asking questions. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, here we go. Grace. Give yourself grace. Nobody has it all figured out yet. No one does. So I just wanted to start with that already. I think we've covered it, but no one has got this all figured out. I saw this quote recently, and I absolutely loved it, and I tweaked it a little bit myself and added some to it. It's essentially this: focus on what you can control. Your job right now is not to get every one of your students to participate in your virtual classroom. That is not your job right now, is to get 100% participation. Now, your job is to continue to offer support, which seems a little bit like mixed messaging, right? Like you're being told possibly from the state. You know, I was just reading through Michigan's expectations for teachers during this time. And one of the things was about, you know, getting participation and getting all students chimed in. Yeah, I get it. We should definitely try to get students to be a part of what we're doing in the classroom. And we're going to talk about that tonight. I already saw someone had a question on here about how do you get students to show up on Zoom calls? Yes, we want our students to be engaged, but we can't control that. We don't have puppet strings and can control and make sure our students stop playing out in the woods, or stop playing in their rooms with their toys, or stop watching Netflix or playing Fortnite, or stop taking care of their siblings if they live in a home where that's their primary responsibility. Stop doing the things that these students have to do. We can't control their participation. That's out of us right now. Now, usually, if they're in our classroom, we can't necessarily control their participation, but we can at least have them present. Now, that's kind of been removed, especially if you can't, you know, threaten, I don't want to use that word, but if you can't give grades and say, you know what, if you don't show up, you're going to fail. That's out of the picture, which I don't really like that as a motivator anyway, but that's gone. And some of our other traditional motivators, oh, you won't be able to play sports if you don't do well, that's kind of out the window. You know, and just physical presence, that's out the window. And so we can't control that right now. And so if one of the stressors you feel at this moment is, why aren't my students showing up for optional Zoom meetings? Like I'm putting these together. I'm saying, hey guys, we're going to do a lesson on factoring polynomials today. And if you feel like you already have it, you can just go work on the activity. But if you don't feel like you understand it, I want you to show up for the Zoom meeting, and it's optional, and you put it out there and no kids show up. or one kid shows up, or it's the same kid showing up every time. Does that sound familiar? If that's happening for you, I feel your pain. That definitely stings, and I get it. I think everybody here gets it. But know that that's not on you. That's on the circumstance that we're all in right now. You know, there's so many factors that can keep a student from showing up despite your best intentions and you wanting them to. And so what I think we have to do is, instead of putting ourselves down about our students' participation and performance, I think what we should do is ask ourselves, are we continuing to offer support? Are we opening the doors for our students to learn during this time? Am I creating opportunities for them to come to these optional meetings or required or obligatory meetings or whatever it is? Am I doing that? Am I creating activities that are engaging and will teach students that choose or are able to choose to participate? Are we putting it out there? Focus on what you can control, and that's your output. And that's all you can do. And so I just want to say that. Give yourself grace. I know a lot of people are just beating themselves up right now because this is difficult. This is hard, and we're not getting the engagement that we might have gotten in the classroom. I know myself, and I'm just being honest, and I think a lot of people would probably be able to say this as well. When I'm in the classroom and I'm with my students and I'm telling stories and I'm letting my energy leave my body and I'm putting everything I have into it, and I'm able to bounce around to groups and work with students, or maybe I go to the front of the room and I talk for 10 minutes and try to draw them in, I get a lot of engagement with my students. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. I really love trying to get my students engaged. And yet in the online virtual world, sometimes it's crickets. And I have to catch myself because I start getting thoughts, what, do they not like me? Or are my activities not good enough? Am I leaving something out? What am I struggling with here? And I think the truth is, it's not, I'm continuing to offer support. I'm continuing to put it out there. And I'm learning as I go because nobody has it figured out, myself included, yourself included. So you've got to give yourself grace, but then you also have to give grace for others. You know, I mean, I was thinking about, mortgages are deferred right now. My mortgage is being deferred for 3 months. I know that's one of the famous lines that I've heard in my education upbringing was, you know what, we can't have late grades. We can't allow students to turn things in late because in real world, you can't turn things in late. You can't turn your taxes in late. You can't turn your mortgage payments in late. And so we can't let them turn essays in late or tests in late or assignments in late. Like, well, my taxes have been deferred till July now. And which I don't know why I'm laughing about that. My mortgage is being deferred right now. You know what I mean? There are realities that when we get into crisis moments, we need grace. I needed grace during this time. You need grace during this time. You need to give that to yourself. And then how can we also give it to students? And I think grades are just one of them. But then also just understanding that during all of this, there's just going to be weeks where students can't show up for calls, or they're not going to turn in their work. And I have a slide for it later, but I'm just going to jump ahead now. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given was, especially as it pertains to working with parents, but also students, is just assume that everybody's always doing their best. And it's not always necessarily true. Some people aren't always doing their best. But if you have that assumption, everybody's trying here, it makes you just get through your day better. And then there's a reality applied to that to most people. You know, our students right now are going through a crisis as well. They're feeling the anxiety. They're seeing the news. They're seeing social media. They're seeing their parents. They're seeing their siblings. Some of them are seeing sick people around them. The fear and anxiety is not just us adults. It's also kids. Even my 6-year-old, Jack, we went on a hike yesterday, and we saw his friend on the hike, and he caught a toad, and he was so excited to go show it to his friend. And he says he's getting close, he freezes, and he backs up, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, coronavirus." And I'm like, "Good job social distancing," but that also breaks my heart, right? There's 6-year-olds shouldn't be told don't run up to your friend and show them a toad, but it's a reality right now. We do have to do that, and it breaks your heart. It's like fear for the first time in his life is being introduced to him. And that's with all of our students, and some of them way more severe than my kids who have educator parents who are pouring into them and giving them the stability and instruction and structure during this time. And so we just have to give our students some deferment. We've got to give them grace as well. And then also, I think this is a perfect time to highlight the need to differentiate with our students, right? We should always be differentiating, finding ways to help our individual students, because nobody learns exactly the same. Nobody learns at the exact same pace or in the exact same way. And so we should always try to be differentiating and using formative assessment data to figure out how can I target and help this group of students or this individual student. But now more than ever, because we've got students from all different socioeconomic classes who are dealing with this problem in different ways. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day who was saying that they have a student who is one of 5 kids, and they have a single mother who is continuing to work during this time. And so the kids all have to go to daycare. And when they get home from daycare, the oldest kid has to keep an eye on them while the mother's still working. And I'm just like, oh, how are those kids all supposed to go to school every day? How is that kid supposed to sit down and learn the complexities of biology class or whatever it is? How is that? Do we expect that? And so what I would say to that kid's teacher is do your very best to support him. You know, I mean, do your very best to keep him from sliding too much. But the reality is you're not going to get the same level of engagement with a lot of students. I'm not trying to make blanket statements, but a lot of students will not be able to perform in the exact same way because of life and crisis. And so differentiate. Maybe if there's a complex project you're giving students with a really big lofty goal that you know a lot of students are capable of handling, maybe if you hear about the circumstances of certain students or their parents reach out or they reach out and you just know that, you know what, I am not going to give them the entire task. I'm going to give them a portion of the task or a sliver of it. Or maybe I'm going to take the main idea of what I wanted them to get away from the assignment and just have them focus on that and not some of the sub ideas that fall along with it. I think that's what we have to do. Our parts as teachers, this is where we have to flex our expertise and our muscles in this area to figure out, how do I differentiate here? How can I take this assignment and make it doable, possible for this one? How can I make sure that student, whoever that student is, whatever their circumstance is, can experience some success during this time, so can experience some growth? Because again, this webinar is really about how do you thrive as a teacher, but I know teachers, and the way we thrive most is knowing that we're making a difference, right? Knowing that the hard work that we always do is not in vain, feeling like it's worth it. So I think we have to talk about how do we make learning successful for our students right now, because a big part of them being successful is going to make you feel successful. But some of those measures of success have got to change a little bit. You know, I think right now, you know, we usually see the summer slide where students kind of lose some of the progress they had during the school year and then have to make it up a little bit in August and September before they get back to the level that we wanted them at. There's going to be a bigger slide, right? We've lost 2-3 months of instruction and time with students right now. There's going to be a bigger slide. And so I think a lot of the work that we're doing right now is to prevent that slide from being too much, knowing that it's going to happen. There's probably going to have to be some remediation in August and September. And I think teachers all deserve about a $50,000 pay raise in August and September. And I'm serious about that. I really do believe that we need to advocate for that kind of thing, because we're doing our work right now. School is not canceled. Sorry, side note. But I'm pretty passionate about that. But I think what we're doing right now is how do we prevent the academic slide from happening too much? And so for students that might not be able to engage as much as others online, what can I give them? What assignments can I give them? What support can I give them? Resources can I give them? Simplification can I give that's going to prevent that academic slide from being too much? But then it's also a relational slide. I think we have to really keep an eye on that as well, is we want to keep our students connected as much as possible. You know, I've been resonating on this idea lately about what our students are going to remember from this time. Like, what are they actually going to take away from March, April, and May 2020? You know, I was a high school student. I was a freshman in high school during 9/11. And that was obviously, it was a world shaking an event. It was a crisis. And a lot of disruption happened all over our country and our world. And I remember as a ninth grader during that time, I don't remember the content we learned in the months following that. I don't. And part of that is because I don't remember a lot of the content from being a kid. Obviously, I learned a lot, but I don't remember a lot of it. But I specifically during that time, the big vivid takeaways that I have is the security and stability that my teachers gave to me, or all of the adults in my life. The specific ones helped lead me through this crisis. You know, when a hurricane hit my high school and my senior year of high school, and my school got torn down, and it was just absolute disruption. It was the teachers in my life who showed me how to have difficult discussions, who brought calm and security during that time. It was the teacher who brought my family cookies during the crisis. When we were living in a FEMA trailer without electricity and water, and it was a teacher that showed up and did that. So we gotta, how can we, and I'm not saying we have to make big dramatic gestures all the time. I don't think that's the point, but how do we prevent that relational slide as well? What are some ways that we can connect with our students now to kind of prevent some of that from happening? So I would love to open up the chat a little bit now. What are some things that you have done? I would love for you to just type it in. And I'm actually at the end of this webinar, I'll be able to send you the video recording, including my slides, some helpful resources and links, but then also the transcript of what everybody types in here, so you can kind of go back to it as reference. But what are some things that you're doing to maintain relationships and connection with kids during this time? Feel free to just kind of write it into the side, just kind of give out some ideas. What are you doing to maintain relational connection? Let's see, writing notes and including a school mascot sticker in it right now as I'm listening. I love it. I play games with kids, and then also just give them chatting time at the end of our Google Meets. I love that. I absolutely love that. Giving time for kids to just chat at the end. You know what I mean? I don't think there's a big cost to it. To just, do our instruction, whatever that looks like, and we'll talk about it in a bit. But then just saying, okay, guys, keep it clean. But you have 10 minutes to chat with each other, or 20 minutes to chat with each other, or dare I say 30 minutes. Anybody that wants to stay on, feel free to just connect with each other. I love it. That's relational connection. Chris says offering one-to-one Zoom sessions to help students increase their grades. I love that, Chris. I think that's a beautiful idea. One-to-one. And I know that's tough, especially if you're like a secondary teacher. Well, especially if you're anybody, but a secondary teacher and you've got 150, 180 students, how do you go one-to-one? And so maybe if you have the capacity for it, if you're able to say, you know what, Mondays are my one-to-one days, and I spend 5 hours this day talking to kids one-on-one. I don't know if that's a lofty goal or not. Probably too much for me. But if that's something you can do, go for it. Maybe it's like, you know what, I can't do one-to-one, but I can do 1-to-4. Every week I connect with groups of 4, and we just have a little powwow, a little chat, a little 10-minute get together, connecting, dropping in. Office hours, kids are stopping by just to say hi. I love that. I love that. Calling students. I'm going to jump ahead on my slide, but yeah, I love the idea of calling students, phone calls. And if you don't want to give away your personal phone number, which I never do, a good thing to do is to use Google Voice. I've got a slide for it later, but use Google Voice. It gives you your own phone number, and you can use that to call students. So they don't have your number, but you can still just call and chat. A lot of people don't want to do this video interaction. You might not want to do that, and I think that's fine. I've made hundreds of videos now, and so I'm kind of used to hearing my own voice. But I remember when I first got into videos and video chatting, I didn't like it. It's awkward. And I think the more you do it, the better you get at it. But for now, feel free to just use your voice. Call students, chat with them. Maybe one of the takeaways from all this is that students are going to be better at communicating. We've always griped about the lack of interpersonal communication amongst our young people now. It's like, all right, well, here's a chance for them to learn to talk on the phone. Maybe do a lesson in your class about telephone etiquette and how to talk on the phone. I know that seems like a given, but not all of our students were raised like a lot of us older people and talked on the phone. You know, when I was in middle school, I used to call my friends and we'd play Jeopardy together on the phone. Our students don't necessarily have that. Or maybe they do. Maybe they have it on, maybe they use it on FaceTime, but here's the time for them to really flex some of that. So I love all the stuff that people are posting right now. This is all so good. So yeah, check out Google Voice. Let's talk about some other things. One thing we should all be doing to thrive during this time is simplify. We need to find ways to simplify. I know that in the normal circumstances, we've got so much that we have to cover, and we feel like we're supposed to cover all of it, which is usually a possibility. Now, it's as difficult as ever. And so if we actually want to be successful, we need to simplify what we're covering, focusing on foundational skills and knowledge. Ask yourself this question: what do I want my students to be able to do because of this activity? If it's just remember information or just be able to move on to the next unit, it might need to get cut, right? It really should be something foundational. Remember that last slide about sliding, preventing too much of a slide. Just focus on foundational skills. Asking the question, can I effectively teach all of this right now? You know, I'm an over planner, as you'll probably see. How long are we into this thing? So we're 30 minutes into this. I got a lot more slides I could cover today. I really, really do. And so I could either really start speeding up right now, or I could plan it for another time. And I'm probably going to do a little bit of both. But I'm an over planner. I want to be ready to go. And I think that's the teacher in me. And I bet a lot of you have that trait as well. And you've got all this stuff that you want to cover. And maybe during that little interim time where you were preparing to go virtual, you planned out all of these lessons, and maybe you submitted them, and you had all these ideas and activities and games and essays and projects and all the stuff you planned. I think we've got to ask the question, can I effectively teach this right now? And when I say, can I teach this? Yeah, we could probably squeeze it all in. I could zip through all of this right now and do it, but would it be effective? And that's what we're going for right now. We're just trying to cover the fundamentals. We're trying to get foundational stuff across to our students, the content that really, really matters for them. And I think another thing we can do to help save time for ourselves, because that's one of the things we're short on right now, is time. I mean, I'd love to see in here how many people here are parents with kids and you're also teachers. How's that going? It's difficult here on this end. Time is of the essence. So one of the advice I would give to you right now is, you know, if it's already made, use it. Don't feel like you got to create all original content. I mean it. I mean, I think normal teaching, we should steal from each other. Obviously, give credit where credit is due. But you know what I mean? Like there's a really good quote. Sherry Steelman taught it to me about stealing. She's on here somewhere. I'm pointing to the comment. I should be pointing at the camera. But you know, to steal good stuff that's out there, or maybe borrow good stuff. There's so many great videos that people have put a lot of time and energy into making really effective lessons for you. Use those, you know, pre-watch them, obviously, and make sure that they're what you need. But, you know, I love crash course videos that John Green makes. You know, Khan Academy has some great videos. I love Reading Rainbow. What is her name? There's so many great resources on the internet. And that is something that didn't exist when a lot of us were kids, but it exists now. And we would be dumb not to take advantage of it. And so somebody like me who likes to make videos, and maybe you like to make videos. Yeah, if you want to do works, go for it. Maybe that's more effective for your students. But if you're in between talking about, am I going to try to scrap something that's important because I don't have time for it, or I can have a video for this portion of the lesson so that I can focus on other things, maybe go with the video. You know, instead of you making a video on how photosynthesis works, use one that's already online. Just Google it. There's some great resources out there, and I think we should take advantage of it. Let's see what people are saying. Yeah, I see it as a form of compliment when you use their lessons. Yes, absolutely, Tracy. I know whenever I put something online, I want people to use it. You know, like I very rarely charge money for anything that I make because I want it to be out there. I want it to be used. Now, if you want to use TPT and buy people's lessons, that's great as well. Absolutely, especially if the school gives you a budget for that kind of thing, go for it. But there's stuff out there and we should be using it. Now, obviously, like I said, If it's copywritten, get permission or give attribution or whatever. But if it's to teach your students, I'm sure most people are okay with you using their work in that way. So read the fine print, but use what's on the internet. There's some good stuff. And if you have never used Crash Course videos, they are awesome. Don just said John Spencer's video writing prompts rock. Yes. If you have not seen his video writing prompts, just Google. Yeah, great. John's a good friend of mine. He makes these video writing prompts where it's just a fun thing. So go check it out. Yet somebody on here is using my Social Restart project. Yes, I'll talk about that in just a minute. But yeah, use what's already out there. Grade less. You know, for most of us, grades are not being counted in the traditional way. And again, I think that there is some secret sauce, stuff that we're learning through all of this, that we need to take those ideas and sentiments and motifs from this and bring it back to regular teaching. And I think one of them is simplifying what we already do so we can do what we do really, really well. And I think that includes grading less. You don't have to grade everything. You don't. And I know we've been taught that you're supposed to grade everything, but we don't have to, especially now. Grade what's important. Grade what's formative. Actually, that's what we should say. If grading something is going to help you get a better idea of where a student is at and how you can differentiate and help them and help meet their needs and help them achieve growth, then grade it or assess it. You know, if a formative assessment is going to help a student learn what they need to keep working on and kind of gives them information, great, that's wonderful as well. But if we're grading it just because we feel this obligation to grade everything, we're just wasting time. And it's going to be hard to thrive right now as educators if we're wasting precious, limited time. And so I would just say grade less. You don't have to grade everything right now. Megan says, check out Teachers Going Gradeless. You can actually grade nothing, she says. There's so much research about the power of feedback and negative impact of grades. I'm with you, Megan. I call it grades because that's what we call it. But yeah, formative assessments, information that we can use to make ourselves better, to make students better. Absolutely. Yeah. Wait. Is sound still gone? Sound still gone? Can somebody give me a... Uh-oh. Can you hear me now? Oh no! You can hear me? Yes! Okay. This is such a funny thing. Okay. It's these bad headphones. They're goners. All right. Thank you everybody for the feedback. This is fun. Why don't you just do this every day together? All right. Okay. Sticking to a schedule. This is the hardest one in the whole wide world for me, is sticking to a schedule. And it still is, and it always has been. You know, as a student teacher, some of the best feedback I got from my mentoring teacher who's on here, I saw her, is I love engaging students and I love coming up with big ideas and I love just diving into the meat of learning, but sticking to a schedule and the fine details don't necessarily come natural to me. And I know they come natural to a lot of teachers, but I am not one of them. And so how do you thrive when nobody's exactly giving you a schedule the way you usually would, right? So many teachers were used to getting to school at 8 and you get out at 3. And the first class ends at 8:10, or that'd be a short class, 9, and then you have a 5-minute break, and then it goes from 9:05 to 10. You know what I mean? Like we're used to this schedule, and now a little bit up to us. And so what we have to do is develop that discipline. And that's what I've had to do myself. And I'm getting better at it. I really am, because I have to, because there's nobody telling me, okay, you need to do this right now. Or maybe some of you are having some of that and somebody's looking over your shoulder, and I'm sorry to hear that. But a lot of us have to create our own schedules. And so yeah, a few things is like, have specific meeting times and stick to them. Say that this is when I'm available. Like on Mondays, and I think I have a slide for it next. Yep. On Mondays, I introduce concepts. So this is the day I do direct instruction. I get a big idea out there, whatever it looks like for you. Mondays are for this. Tuesdays are the days I do parent communication. Now, I might build in 20 minutes every single day if parents email me, but I don't send out emails to parents except for Tuesdays. Even though sometimes I feel like sending one out on Thursdays, nope, I've got a schedule. I do it on Tuesdays. And this is just an example of daily rituals. Wednesdays are for when I record lessons and I send them out to small groups. That's the day they get those. They don't get recorded lessons on other days. Thursdays are for when groups present to each other and have conversations. We can't do it every day. I know sometimes students want more of that. I know sometimes we might want more of that, but we have to create these schedules. Fridays are when I do small group check-ins, whatever it looks like. It's creating meeting times and sticking to them, because you're going to find more health that way. You're going to find yourself getting to take more breaths when you have a schedule like that. You know, having work hours, disconnecting at a certain hour, which is so hard to do if you are at home. Are you with me? It's extra hard to say, okay, I'm done at work, and then just go upstairs, right? Like, it might look like I'm in a pretty studio right now. I'm actually in my basement, and there's a bounce house, and there's a couch over there, and a bunch of messes, and all this stuff. And I just look like I'm somewhere else. No, I'm at home, and I've got to figure out, how do I work here? How do I work right now with you when I hear like stomping up above me, right? And I hear yelling, and my kids are out on the deck, and our neighbor brought a little golden retriever puppy over, and that turns the volume up a little bit. And this happens all day long. I mean, not too long ago, I was recording a video for one of my college classes, and I'm doing the whole video, and I'm really into it, and I'm like 15 minutes into it. It was a long thing I had to do, and all of a sudden, I had a bunch of, are we disconnected again? Okay. I had students behind, or my students, see, I'm losing my mind already. My kids were in my room, and they're behind me, and they're like shaking things and yelling and laughing and screaming and all this stuff. And I'm trying to like keep my composure on this video. And I'm like, oh, this is hard. How do you create boundaries during this? And so we've got to create work hours for ourselves and make that discipline. At 4 o'clock, I am done teaching. I turn off my email. I turn off all notifications for my phone, or I don't check them, and you cannot get in touch with me after 4 o'clock. And I know that sounds a little harsh, and I know there's some people who might get a little ticked off at you about it. Hey, I need to talk to you at 5, and you have to say, here's my meeting times, here's the time that I'm available, and when it's not those times, I am not available. And this isn't about being mean, this is about protecting yourself, right? This is about giving yourself space and mental space, because part of thriving right now is having the energy to give the output that you need for your students. And you're not going to have that energy if you're not giving yourself time to recharge. So stick to a schedule. I'm a big fan of to-do lists. It's changed my life. I have a big whiteboard over there in my office, and I just make a to-do list. And that's what my day looks like. I get through that to-do list. And so kind of developing that discipline, having something physical. Holly says, I found that out the hard way the second year of teaching. Yes, I think we all figured that out the hard way our second year of teaching. Yes, I still wear my school lanyard, and that creates boundaries with my family. Did you guys see it? So Stacy says she still wears her school lanyard, and that creates boundaries with my family. That's a brilliant idea, Stacy. That's a great idea. So when your kids see you, it's like, mommy's working, daddy's working. And if you have 5-year-olds or a 6 and a 4-year-old like I do, so I went with the average there, there's still some flexing, but they're getting it. You know, I'm setting these hard rules and saying, this is the time that I'm working, and you can't come into the basement during this time. Or maybe you're working from the dining room table. Hey, during this time, you have to go watch a show, because this is when I'm going to do my Zoom call. And I know, and I want to go back to that grace line. Some of us are flexing on our screen time rules right now, right? Like we used to say, oh, my kids only watch an hour of TV a day. And now you're like, oh, my kids are watching 2.5 hours of TV a day because I got to do Zoom chats with my class, and my wife is at work, or my husband's at work, or whatever it is. And they're watching too much screen time. Hey, give yourself grace. It's okay. It's okay. We'll get back to normal. And we'll get back to some of those routines and some of those restrictions. But right now, maybe it is like, hey, during this time when I'm doing my instruction with my class, I've got to create ways for you, my kids, my family, whatever it is, whatever, my roommate, my pets, I've got to create space from you so that I can do this work. And there's no flexing on it. Now, sometimes you're going to have to flex on it because that's life. But kind of saying that this is my time. I've got the lanyard on, and then I got to stick to the schedule. All right, we're gonna keep rocking. I love the feedback people are giving on here. Yes, Storybots is Kelsey had. They're watching Magic School Bus or Storybots. Does it count as science? Yeah, it actually does. You know, I mean, there are actually some educational shows. If we're going to break the screen time rules and say, you know what, I got to put my 6-year-old in front of the TV for an hour, I might as well make it Wildcrafts and he can learn about animals. Or I can make it Storybots or Magic School Bus. There's educational content out there. So, or Blue's Clues or whatever it looks like on your end. I love that thinking. Okay, what else? Rituals, love it. I think people are giving some great tips on here. So if you have any more, feel free to throw them in there. Maybe I can compile some of this and put it together in the resource that I'm going to send you afterwards. I'm not going to go long on this because I think we've already talked about it some. But I think we have to plan fun for our students, whether you teach university level or kindergartners or ninth graders, whatever it is. I think we have to actually intentionally plan fun for our students. And there's so many ramifications for this. One, it's going to build current engagement right now. If your students know that on Friday we're going to do a Zoom talent show and everybody's just going to laugh at the ridiculousness of it, that's probably going to get some engagement throughout the rest of the week when we're building up to it. Because you know a lot of them are going to be there for the talent show at it. And so it's getting engagement now. It's also helping prevent some of that slide that's happening, that relational slide. It's giving them uplift. And it's also going to be fun for you. If your students are having fun in a normal physical classroom, you're usually having fun with them. And it's the same here. How can you plan fun for your students right now? Whether it's scavenger hunts, which my son's teacher, Mandy, did a great kindergarten scavenger hunt the other day. And I've just been digging deeper into that idea. But like, you know, she had my son like, hey, go find something that starts with the letter P. And then he comes back and he has his sister Piper, my little girl, and all the kids in the class get to see his sister Piper. And go find something that starts with a Z. And he went and got my dog Zeke. And they're just doing this, and it's kind of educational, but it's really fun. And it's a good way to show the house and their living environment or whatever it is. And you don't have to require that students do it, but just planning fun, show and tell, showing funny videos. Maybe start every single lesson with just one funny video. So no matter what your class looks like that day, kids might show up because they want to see what video you're going to show today. So maybe that's something you do in your planning time. I'm going to go find my funny video for Wednesday. Read a ridiculous joke. Tell stories. What's your day been looking like? Let them in on what's going on. Tell funny stories. Tell stories from when you guys were all together. Students love that. We all love those callbacks, bringing it back. You know, oh, do you guys remember the time when the rotten milk was left on the bookshelf and I threw it and it exploded in the room and they all laugh about it? And it's like, oh, I remember when we were together, you know, building that relational connection. Plan fun, share music, play online games, fun writing prompts. It's necessary right now. It's just as necessary as anything else we're doing. Here's a Zoom scavenger hunt activity I put together based on what my son's teacher did, and I just kind of went with it a little bit more. But I mean, I think you can do this with any grade. You know, secondary students, you know, go find an item in your house containing a certain element from the periodic table. Find an item that's a simile or a metaphor for a certain idea. 1st through 5th grade, find an item with a certain number of letters in it or a certain number of syllables, whatever it is. There's just, the sky's the limit. So I'll send that on the resources that I put with everything. What are you guys doing to have fun? What are some fun things you're doing? Star Wars Digital Escape Room. I love it. She shared the resource. So Lori in the chats shared a resource about Star Wars Digital Escape Room. So definitely check that out. I saw Would You Rather. I only played that in high school. I don't know if I want to. Oh, there's a nice way to do a Would You Rather. Okay. Is there a resource that shows all of the online games available? That's a great question, Odette. If anybody knows of any good resources that have a ton of online games, feel free to throw that in the chat here. Love it. Bingo. That's a great idea. Beth, TikTok video challenges. Listen, I was a huge hater of TikTok videos, folks. Like I was bashing them pretty hard. And then my friend sent me his own TikTok and I did one, and it's kind of the funniest thing in the whole wide world. And if you can get into it as a teacher, you're not going to win social capital. Your kids aren't going to think you're cool because it's not cool when we do it,
but it is hilarious, right? If you want your students to laugh, get on TikTok and do something ridiculous on there. That is a great way to show them that you are humble and you can self-deprecate and have some fun. So TikTok, love it. Yeah, so feel free to keep putting stuff on there. I'll keep this chat going afterwards so you can kind of go through and see what other ideas people have. Kahoot, I love that, Kara. Kahoot is such a great tool. We're going to get to some technology tools in a minute. Let's talk about virtual meetings real quick because we are running out of time. This is what I think virtual meetings should be about with students. They should be about relationship building, which we just talked about. They should be about introducing concepts, big ideas, and then they should be about small group instruction. So that's what I think virtual meetings should be about. So just like in the physical classroom, direct instruction is for big ideas. And that's the same as on here. I've heard from people talking about how their teacher or teachers themselves or whatever are doing like 45-minute, hour-long lectures on Zoom, and they're noticing that students are like falling asleep or pulling up their phone. Or I saw one where a kid put up a picture of themselves working and held it in front of their camera. And it's like, listen, yeah, the students probably shouldn't be disengaging, but you shouldn't be doing 45-minute lectures on Zoom or in person. Direct instruction is just for big ideas. The nitty-gritty, the details that you want them to learn is through the activities and the practice. Direct instructions for big ideas, and I think we really need to stick with that idea here. And it's the same in the classroom. So here's some ideas. Still apply best practices. Like if you're going to lecture, give a talk, or whatever you want to call it, still apply those best practices. You know, feel free to use the mute button. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? Some of these students are just being too disruptive and it's just distracting and I can't focus and they can't focus. I'm just going to mute them. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always unmute them if they want to talk or if they need to talk. So, you know, use the mute button. And I see people on here saying that no virtual meetings allowed in their area. Yeah, so we won't be talking about this too long, but I feel that's tough. Another tip with doing Zoom virtual direct instruction, don't feel pressure to respond to all the comments right away. You know, I mean, I've seen a lot of comments on here and I'm tempted to be like, oh, I'm just going to pause what I'm doing and go to it. But you would never get through with what you're doing. You would never kind of be able to get that flow going that you know you have if you're responding to everything. And so if your students are asking questions or chiming in or whatever it is, just make sure that you build in time to get to those, but don't feel the pressure to respond to every one of them right away. Also, still use storytelling and enthusiasm. I know that it's weird that you're just talking to a circle in your screen, and maybe you can see your students, maybe you can't. I can't see you right now, but your enthusiasm and storytelling and it's still compelling through a screen. You can still be yourself. You can still tell jokes. You can still get into it. You can still act ridiculous or whatever it looks like for you. You can still do that even through a screen. It's taken me a while to learn that, but I firmly believe it. I think there's a lot of connection you can make with people virtually. And so still do that. Don't feel like you have to hold back because it feels awkward because you're in your basement or you're in your living room or whatever it is. Still go for it. This is a big one. No more than 15 minutes without breaking up time. So don't go more than 15 minutes without pausing your talking and giving students an opportunity to discuss with each other, or maybe you show a video, or maybe you give them a physical activity, something to break it up. There is so much brain science to show that our brains cannot handle more than 15 minutes of information at a time. After 15 minutes, we start forgetting the information. We start losing it. Matter of fact, I saw this study that said they did a 1-hour lecture and then they quizzed students that were a part of this study on what they learned from the lecture. And you'd think that the stuff they remembered most from a 1-hour lecture was from the final 5 minutes, right? That was the freshest right before they had to take a test. But it was actually the first 5 minutes of the lecture that they remembered. And they hardly answered anything from the last 5 minutes. And what they kind of concluded was our brains start to shut down after a certain amount of time. And there's nothing that you can do. You can be the best speaker in the world. And if you don't give them an opportunity to engage with the content or do something or move or discuss or anything, they're going to forget it. And so that's true for Zoom meetings, and that's true for all direct instruction. I love hands-on project work. I love it. And I'm all about it in the classroom. But I'm also a big fan of telling good stories and getting big ideas across and then having them go work. I love the idea of sharing and using our expertise in that area. And just letting it flow that way. So, but there are parameters that we have to give to ourselves, and there are best practices we can follow. Like using visuals. If you're going to do a talk with students, give them something to look at. Give them something to reference and kind of connect ideas. If you're talking about photosynthesis, have a picture of a plant or a seed growing or anything like that that's going to help them connect and listen to your voice, but have something to do and connect with rather than just auditory listening. One of the tough things about this time is that a lot of our students learn better auditorily. Some of them learn better visually. Some of them are more kinesthetic. And so we still have to think about those things when we're doing this work. So using visuals in presentations. Somebody said on here, Don said, is there a way you can send us the chat comments? I think there is. This is the first time I've ever done a webinar with this program, but I definitely will try to do that. If not, I'll just go through. I don't know. I'm going to find out how. I'm hopeful. Oh, look, it says send to everybody. Yes, I can. Just as a little side note, I will be releasing a course, an online course next month, or maybe by the end of this month, all about how to do really strong lectures and direct instruction in a way that's productive, that students, are leaning in and they're engaging with it, And so my course is all about how do you tell engaging stories? How do you craft things in a certain way? How do you present? What are some things that you can do? How do you make an awesome PowerPoint with really strong visuals? So that's going to be coming out soon. I just wanted to plug that while we were talking about direct instruction. So if you are interested in that, I'm going to put the link for it in, I'll put the link in the comments as well, and I'll also send it out to you. But if you are interested, you can do this, and then I can email you when it's live. But anyway, that's coming out soon. We're almost out of time. Where does time go? Tools and resources. Let's at least cover that before we're done. I hope that this has been useful for you so far. I know it kind of feels like I'm sprinting a little bit here, but I feel like there's just so much we should talk about and so many important things we shouldn't be skipping over. Okay. Tools and resources. This kind of goes back to the simplifying, but limit the tools that you and your students use. There are so many things out there right now, and so many technology companies that are vying for your time and attention. I mean, there's literally Washington Post articles about here's the best tools for virtual learning. Here's what you need here. And it's just coming at you at super speed. And it's listen, some of those are really great, and maybe you should pick a couple of those to use, but you don't need all of them. And you should really limit the ones you use so you can really focus on what's most important. Some of the ones that I love and I use is, one of them is Screencastify. It's a Google extension to where you can essentially just record whatever's happening on your screen. So go look that up, Screencastify. And I'm not getting paid for sharing any of these tools. These are just ones I actually love. Nobody pays me anything for this stuff. Tools. And I also would like to remind you, remember, I'm like an old guy when it comes to technology. And so the ones that I really like are the ones that are easy to work with and help my students and help me. Project management. If I want my students to be able to organize their time as they're working, a Google Doc is great. If you've ever used Trello, Trello.com, Trello.com is a wonderful project management tool. This is just a screenshot of it, but essentially you can create columns and you can name your columns and you can drag things over. And so if my students are doing a collaborative project together, and these are the different tasks they have to do. These are what to do. This is what they're all working on. You can assign student names. You can assign due dates. They can share it with their teacher so that you can connect and see what everybody's working on. You can give comments on it. They can make a done column. Okay, Mary is done with crafting storyboard. I can move it over to script outline. You know what I mean? So this is just a really great free tool for teachers. It's called Trello. I really love that tool in the classroom and virtually. Moat, this just came out, guys. This is the tool we have all been waiting for. It's called Moat, and you just go to justmoat.me, and it's actually, you can leave, if you're grading a paper, you can leave verbal feedback on Google Docs. So you just highlight it just like you would a comment, and you click record, and you just record what they need to do to fix it, and then hit publish, and it just automatically goes on their Google Doc. So you don't have to type out all of your responses. You could say insert period, or you could say, I wonder if you can go into more detail, or I wonder if this source is valid, or whatever it is that you're working on, or I wonder, or this math problem, you can give feedback there, whatever it is. Moat is awesome, and it's free as well. So check this one out. It is a game changer. I just had to grade 100 essays last week, and oh man, I found Moat on the very first day of grading, and it like was the biggest game changer of my life, because I want to give meaningful feedback, and I know you do too. There's no point in giving a grade if there's not feedback to it, if they're not learning from it. And so I want to do that, but I also don't have time to write all those comments, or if I do spend that time, I'm gonna have less time elsewhere. So Moat, I can't talk about it enough. They should pay me for talking about it this much, but it's good stuff. Moat. Google Voice, you can get your own phone number. So you don't have to, students and parents don't have to have your phone number, because there's few things worse than it being 10:30 at night and you get a text message from a parent saying, hey, why did they get this grade? And you're laying in bed watching Netflix on your phone or reading a book, and you're like, are you kidding me? So use Google Voice. It's a great way to connect, which is so important, but to do in a way that is disconnected. Another tool I just want to tell you about, it's 8 o'clock. Do we need to end? We'll go a little bit more. Another phenomenal tool is Voxer. And Voxer is a great way to stay connected with other professionals. And I can't emphasize this point enough to you, my friends, is we have got to stay connected with each other throughout all this. Voxer is like a walkie-talkie app where you can like set up groups, and you can just send other teacher friends. I do it all the time with my other educator friends, where you just send messages, voice messages, and you can talk about stuff, and then they can listen, they can respond. You know, Marco Polo is another great. Uh-oh, did you lose audio? Did we lose audio? Anybody else losing me? Can you all hear me right now? I just want to make sure. Okay, you can hear me. Good, good, good. All right, sorry, awkward. So Voxer's great. Look it up. I use it religiously. Here's a good litmus test for everybody. If a technology does not enhance learning or make life easier for the teacher, with some practice, we got to give ourselves some time to learn stuff, then it has no place in the classroom. So if it's not helping you right now, and it's not helping students, then you don't have to keep using it. You know, I mean, there's just amazing technologies out there, from video editing and social graphics and translation apps and all these things. They're wonderful, but if they're not helpful, if they're not teaching essential skills, if students are not learning from it, it's not making your life easier, their life easier, then I'm not sure why we would use it. I'm going to do a little skipping. Here's one little tidbit. If there's an easier tool for you to use than what everybody else is using, then use that. There's no time right now to get bogged down by something you're not loving. You know what I mean? If you've got an LMS and it's got a messaging app, and that's one way that you could connect with students and parents, and it's cumbersome and it's easy to get things lost, and you would rather just use your professional email, then use your professional email. And if your administrator doesn't like that, just tell them to send me an email and we can chat about it. Not really, don't do that. But you can. Yeah, you can do that. I'll take the brunt of it. Use the tool that works for you. Right? Use what makes you and your students successful, because that's what we're all in this for right now, is finding success for everybody. All right. Any technology suggestions, feel free to write them in. I just don't want to abuse anybody's time. Parent communication, we're going to have a chat about that next time. We'll just make a whole webinar on communication. Because I just don't think it would be good to blow through these things. And then we'll have some on PBL, project-based learning. So, oh man, look at how many I'm going over. You'll never know what it was all about unless you tune in next time. So let's talk about self-care, and then we'll wrap it up. You got to take care of yourself right now. It is absolutely vital. You've got to schedule breaks. Yes, you've got to schedule time you're going to work with students, and schedule time you're going to grade, and schedule time you're going to work with parents, and schedule time you're going to plan. You also need to schedule time when you go outside for a walk. You know, right? You also need to schedule time in the middle of the day where you're going to pull out a book and read for a little bit. Because you're going to lose your sanity. And like I said, if your cup is not full, it'll never overflow into other people, into other students. right? You need to be full yourself. And so schedule breaks for yourself. This is an activity I do with my friends. We call it consolation and desolation. How console myself. It's just a reflection activity that I do with myself. What is bringing me life right now? What is consoling me? What is bringing me joy and peace during this time? And I list those things. And then what is not? What's bringing desolation? Where am I feeling emptiness? How do I find balance between, how do I get more of that consolation? What is not working? What can I cut off for more? What do I need to get rid of? What do I need to spend more time on that's actually bringing life to me right now? And I think that can look different for a lot of people. Angela says, walk away from the screen. Yes, we got to disconnect. We've got to unplug. We've got to turn off our phones. We've got to go outside. We've got to find ways to find more consolation in our lives, more joy, more depth and richness. And so I think that looks different for everybody, but I just want to make this a reminder that we need to do more and more of that. We need to disconnect. We've got to find ways to find joy and peace during this time. Find non-teaching related activities to do every single day. All right, guys, we'll do this again next week because this has been so good and life-giving for me. I would love to keep the conversation going. One of the things that I'm doing a lot of right now is, working with schools and giving ideas and sharing and working with teachers. So if you're part of a school that would be interested in that, feel free to pass my name on or give me a call or send me an email. I would love to connect with you on that, whether it's a workshop or a keynote or one-on-one consultation, whatever it is. I would love to connect in that way. And a lot of it's probably going to be virtual right now, which is fine. But I would love to do that with you as well and meet in person and get to connect because I think we got to keep these connections strong. So feel free to explore more about that. There's a great distance learning course that John Spencer, that someone brought up earlier. John Spencer has an amazing course on how to empower students in distance learning classes. And it's all about getting kids to show up and engage and learn and love what they're doing. And he goes into so much detail and activities and ideas on how to do that in his course. And so I'm going to put the link to that in the thing that I'm going to send you. I'll also put it in the comments right now. But this is just something to check out. I just love the work that John does. And so I told him I would love to just share that with everybody else. Somebody said, how do we get all your resources and access to other webinars? I'm going to send it out. So Brenda, I'm going to send an email out this week that will have everything I've talked about, including the slideshow and all these resources and links. And I will put a registration for another free webinar where we're going to keep the conversation going. I could do this every week. This is fun. Also, if you want to find out about the course that I have coming up, Make Your Audience Lean In. That's a working title, but I do like the idea of how do we make people lean in to what we're saying and get into it. And that's one of the things I love doing more than anything else in the world. And so I wanted to share some of my best stuff on that. So if you want to find out about that, just shoot your email in there, and that will be a way to find out. You can also follow me or check out my books. But this thing tonight was really about connecting and coming up with ideas and inspiration. And so hopefully this was helpful for you, everybody. Because of time, I wanted to cut. I think I'm going to cut it now. But if there are any Q&A, feel free to hang on and ask any questions. I can't guarantee answers, but I would love to start a dialogue. And I can also take some of the questions you might ask tonight, and we'll think them through and maybe ask them in the next webinar. So if anybody does have any questions, we could take those right now before we get going. And while you're doing that, I'll also just put up this slide again. So if you're not following me on Facebook, I'm at The Epic Classroom. Instagram is The Epic Classroom. Follow me on there. I put a little bit more personal stuff and family but also quotes and teacher stuff. So you can follow me on there, and then Twitter at Trevor Muir. I have a YouTube channel. You can follow me on there. I make a lot of videos because it's a lot of fun. I like it. So any questions or anybody want to engage further? Oh, yes. Are we able to get recertification points? Yes, great question. I even wrote that down in my notes, and I haven't looked at my notes once tonight. That's what I'm talking about. Don't need notes. Yes, I have a certificate that I will be sending as well in the resources that I'm going to be sending you. So you get a certificate that has the PD hours, and you'll be able to fill that out and put your name on it. And you can send them back to me if they have any questions. So, yep, you will get that Yeah. Have you any special message for teachers or students with profound learning difficulties? Yes, Faustina, that is, um, you're doing an important work in the world. I just would go back to simplification. You know what I mean? Like I would go back to like not feeling like you have to cover everything right now. That you've got to just find what's most important and how can I really in on that. And you know what? Like I said, there might be some makeup in the fall when we get back together with our students. There might be some sliding that occurred, especially if they have, I mean, all students, but definitely our students that have severe learning disabilities. And so what's most important right now? Is it that relational connection? And if so, how can we foster that relational connection some more? Are there certain like core skills that I want them to have? I just want to make sure that they still have some reading ability and writing ability when they get back. Okay, well then most of my assignments and activities and things that we're doing are just going to focus on that. And I had some other ideas about taking text apart, or maybe we were going to read To Kill a Mockingbird, and we were going to talk about all of these different motifs, and we were going to talk about the impacts of segregation and racism and inequality and all this stuff. You know what? Maybe I'm just going to take one of those motifs, and that's what that unit's going to be about. And the others, we're just going to have to make sure we cover that next fall because we just can't do that right now. Because right now we've got to focus on what is foundational, what's going to prevent some of that slide. So that's what I'd say. Any ideas for starting the school year remotely? Yes, pray. Pray that doesn't happen. Oh, she says, if it comes to that. Yeah, I just hope it doesn't come to that. If you guys are like me, I'm an optimist, and I want to see the bright side of things, and I refuse to believe that we're going to be doing this then. But if we do, I promise we will all get together. So, all right. I'm gonna wrap this up. I will send you all these resources. Let's just keep connecting. We'll do this again next week. And just thank you from the bottom of my heart. What a joy it is to connect with heroes. And I don't say that superfluously. I don't. I truly mean that. If you are grinding it out and working and hustling and giving of yourself in the midst of a pandemic, a crisis, you are possibly deep in anxiety and fear yourself, and yet you are still giving of yourself to your students. That is a gift to the world. That's a gift to society. That's a gift to your community. That's a gift to your school. That's a gift to your students' parents, and that is a gift to your students. And so thank you for doing that. And thanks for just being invested in figuring out more and more ways to engage them during this difficult time. So anyway, thanks so much, everybody. This was such a joy. Talk to you next week. I'll send you an email soon. Bye. Cheers.